Did you know, during the Victorian era in England, there were more brothels than schools? Quite a startling fact to start with, isn't it? In the heart of the Empire, London, an estimated 80,000 women were not just working, but thriving as prostitutes. This was a time when the world was rapidly changing, yet some aspects of society were stuck in a different era. But remember, we're just scratching the surface here. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There's much more to uncover about the Victorian era. Believe it or not, prostitution was legal and, shockingly, even encouraged. In the heart of Victorian England, this controversial profession was seen as a means for women to earn higher wages and carve a path towards financial independence. This was a time when societal norms and standards differed greatly from what we know today. The world of Victorian prostitution was complex and stratified, with different classes of prostitutes experiencing varying levels of autonomy and earnings. At one end of the spectrum, you had women who were essentially slaves to their circumstances, while at the other end, you had courtesans who lived a life of relative luxury, enjoying a level of independence and financial security that many women of the era could only dream of. It's fascinating and a bit unsettling to think that something we consider so taboo today was not just legal, but even seen as a viable career option back then. The legality of prostitution certainly paints a different picture of the Victorian era, doesn't it? Here's a fact that might leave you stunned. The age of consent was only 13 years old. Yes, you heard it right. This shockingly young age of consent led to rampant instances of child prostitution, a dark and disturbing aspect of the Victorian era. The ease with which one could purchase the virginity of young girls was an open secret, a blight on society that was largely ignored. Then came along investigative journalist W.T. Stead. Stead was a crusader for justice who exposed this horrifying reality to the public. His shocking revelations led to a massive outcry, forcing society to confront the issue. This ultimately resulted in the Criminal Law Amendment Act of 1885, a significant step towards addressing the problem. The act raised the age of consent to 16 years old and criminalized child prostitution. It was a monumental change, but the fight against child exploitation was far from over. It's hard to imagine today, but this was the grim reality of the Victorian era. Victorian brothels weren't just places of business, they catered to various themes and desires. Indeed, these establishments were a mirror to the secret yearnings of the society. Each brothel held its unique allure, tailored to cater to the specific tastes of its clientele. Some brothels were infamous for catering to the darker aspects of human desire, including pedophilia. This shocking reality reflects the grim side of the era, where the age of consent was a mere 13 years old. On a lighter note, wealthy gentlemen were provided with sporting guides. These were essentially catalogues of prostitutes, which the men could peruse at their leisure. These guides served as a curated menu of sorts, offering the patrons an array of choices to suit their particular preferences. Despite the grim aspects, these brothels also served as a testament to the women's resilience and their quest for financial independence during an era where opportunities were far and few. The Victorian brothel was a world in itself, reflecting the society's hidden desires. Contrary to popular belief, prostitutes in the Victorian era had an unexpected advantage. While women of higher social classes were typically restricted to roles of domesticity, with their education focused on becoming accomplished wives and mothers, the world of the educated prostitute was strikingly different. These women, often of lower social standing, found themselves learning practical skills to secure their livelihood. Their unique position in society allowed them to interact with a diverse range of people, from the working class to the wealthy elite. And from these interactions, they gleaned knowledge and insights that were largely inaccessible to their higher class counterparts. They were privy to the latest gossip, political discussions and cultural trends, making them not just providers of physical pleasure, but also companions offering intellectual stimulation. Their education was not formal, but it was practical, diverse, and rich. It was an education of the streets, of society, of life. They learned to navigate the complexities of human nature, to negotiate, to strategize, and to survive. In many ways, these women were not just prostitutes, they were savvy businesswomen, cultural connoisseurs, and social chameleons. So the Victorian era was indeed a time of contrasts and contradictions. These were just a few fascinating facts about prostitution in the Victorian era. We've delved into the surprising legality of the profession, the shockingly low age of consent, and the peculiarities of the Victorian brothel. We've also learned that many of these women, contrary to popular belief, were educated and cultured, and these realities paint a complex and often unsettling picture of a society grappling with sexual politics and women's rights. For more such intriguing insights, please subscribe to Unbelievable Top 10.